One, we have some news. Director Stake empowering tanks in mid-season. Hey everyone, I'm glad to see all of you digging into Season 10. We've loved seeing you welcome our newest hero Venture and enjoy the Overwatch event, playable now in the arcade. However, this week, I want to look ahead to our mid-season update and discuss some changes we have on the way for the tank role. In Overwatch 2, tanks are the imposing heroes who take the brunt of the fight while enabling their teammates to secure eliminations. While tanks are a big target for opponents to focus on, many team comps aim to burn down a tank's HP quickly, or they get moved around a lot from displacement abilities. Okay. We've received feedback that tanks can either feel like they get taken down too quickly in a fight, or that they're impossible to take down. So, our mid-season update is going to help balance how many hits tanks can take to stay in the fight better. So they're gonna be doing it this approach. Impossible to take down. First, we're specifically buffing the tank passive to have a 25% damage reduction from headshots, which should help cut down on their burst down, on being burst down in a fight. Wait, let me read this again. We're specifically buffing the tank passive to have a 25% damage reduction from headshots. So you'll be receiving less damage from headshots, which should help cut down on being burst down in a fight. We're also increasing the knockback resistance for tanks from 30% to 50%, which should allow them to hold the front line a lot more and not feel as subjected to displacement abilities. So I'm thinking Lucio Boops, for example. So you will not be able to move tanks around that much. You can't like boop them off the map that easily. You can use like your big whip shot to displace them and stuff. Okay, but there's more. We're also making some global gameplay changes that impact tanks. One is that we're reverting the armor damage reduction back to reducing 5 damage per projectile with up to a 50% maximum. I don't know what this means, so let's keep on reading. This means heroes like Reaper or Tracer will have more work to do to take down heroes like Reinhardt. Heroes with high burst damage per projectile will still be effective, but these kind of tanks have better means to counterplay that type of damage. So Reaper is going to be weaker against tanks. Next, against like targets with armor. Next, we made a light change to our overall HP recovery passive. Wait. Light change to our overall, so not tank only, right? HP recovery passive. So that is like the one that when you're out of combat and you regenerate HP, that will enable mobile tanks to get back to the front lines faster. The health regeneration passive for all heroes, yeah, will no longer recover 20 HP per second out of combat, but instead recover 10 health plus 5% of their maximum HP per second. This means a hero like Reinhardt will recover their health at 45 health per second in a roll queue match. This is a lot. We're gonna go through the changes one by one. Let me just finish reading them first, okay? I'm gonna go through the changes one by one. Altogether, these changes should have an impact, should have an impact on some of the pain points our tank players are experiencing, as well as the balance of the game. I have a feeling we'll see a lot of movement in the meta over the remainder of Season 10, as we have no idea what hero is going to be strong and what hero is going to be weak. In some individual changes, okay, so these are like general changes. In more individual changes, Jungle Queen is getting a buffed commanding shout, which will be activated even if you're channeling other abilities like Carnage or Rampage, and its cooldown is getting reduced to 12 seconds. This change allowed her to be more engaged in intense fights where you need to charge in more quickly. So probably you can like, I would assume animation cancel with commanding shout, like you don't need a special animation. Okay, more fluidity to Jungle Queen. Jungle Queen is like one of the most, I think Jungle Queen is probably the most, for me at least, the most fun tank to play. You know, like overall with the mechanics and stuff. She's very satisfying when you're playing her. And this should increase the quality of life to her, but still, I think she's didn't necessarily need this, but I might be wrong. I don't play that much Queen, but still, gonna be even more fun to play. And cooldown reduced to 12 seconds. Okay, fine, Queen hasn't been played that much, but that was because Orisa has been played a ton. Okay, with Wrecking Ball, you know, he got reworked a couple of weeks ago. We're seeing some creative play with the changes to his Grappling Claw. However, his ability to contribute, to contribute to the fight is getting a small buff. Okay, define small buff. The impact damage from a full charge swing using grappling claw is getting increased from 50 to 60. So plus 10 damage. Pile driver is increasing the enemy movement lockout from 0.5 to 0.75. I don't like this. As I'm on the receiving end, I don't like this. Ball's gonna slam me. I'm gonna be locked out. 0.75. Not cool. No, please no. And finally, minefield will be a little more threatening. What do you mean? I always die from the minefield. With explosion damage increase from 130 to 165, and knockback increase from 5 to 10 meters. Wait, let me visualize this. Ball goes for me. Mines happen. Instead of going like boof, I go like poof. Is that what's gonna happen? If I enter a mine, I'll just 100% get booped to the other one. By the way, I just want to highlight this. We will be using this. Small buff. I died meanwhile, my bad. This is a small buff. Whenever we will have a mention of small buffs to support, I will do this. And everybody's gonna be like, Mystic Streamer is biased with supports and stuff. But bro, small buff, plus 10 damage, increased knockout. Mine's got 2 buffs. This is a huge buff. This is a huge buff. Still haven't seen ball being played. And combined with all the changes, we might see some ball gameplay happening. Now, okay, one thing that I want to note. I don't think that adding more crowd control to the game is the way to go, because it creates a very frustrating experience, And they kind of address this with tanks, over here, because the knockback resistance is from 30% to 50%. But being on the receiving end, 0.75 lockout, this will not be fun to play. This will just encourage you to keep on playing heroes that can get focused that easily, such as, I don't know, Kiri, Moira, Lucio, Otherwise, they're gonna lift you up, and then maybe DPS are gonna try to finish a kill. Still, we'll see how Wrecking Ball is going to feel with this. Additional changes coming this mid-season include some light buffs for Junkrat, okay, Echo, and Hanzo. But we'll reveal those when you can jump and take these changes for a test drive when the mid-season patch arrives on May 14th. That's all for this week, everyone. Thanks for reading, and let's make a great game. So, on this last paragraph, we have some information. Mid-season patch is going to come May 14th. Light buffs for Junkrat, understandable. For Hanzo, understandable. For Echo, I don't quite know on Echo. I feel like Echo's been in a pretty good spot. I think Echo's fine, completely fine. Maybe they have other stats. I think Echo doesn't need a light buff, but this was a small buff. Now let's see a light buff. So this is about it. Probably more changes coming in mid-season patch too, but these are the ones that we know about. Now, moving into this. Let's go step by step over here. So, first things first. They changed with the DPS passive from 15% to 20% to make sure that you're going to be able to melt secure eliminations easier. And then they're dropping this. And what they're saying is, while tanks are a big target for opponents to focus on, many comps aim to burn down tanks' HP quickly, or they get moved around from displacement abilities. Okay. We're receiving feedback, taken down too quickly, or they're impossible to take down. So what they're doing is literally they're going to be making tanks tankier. In mid-season patch, tanks will be tankier. Specifically buffing the tank passive to have a 25% damage reduction from headshots. So, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but this means that headshots you'll do less damage to tanks if you, they'll have more resistance against headshots. 25% less damage from headshots, damage reduction. So if, for example, you're playing with heroes that don't have shields, let's say you're playing plus the Gargmore. Yeah, you're right. Let's say you play Junker Queen and Widow's gonna headshot you. She's not gonna have that easy of a job to land, I don't know, a couple of headshots on you, and then you're gonna be dying. Okay. To a certain extent, okay, maybe. Fine. See how this one's gonna feel? You can definitely feel headshots from Widowmaker and Sojourn if you're caught in the open and you have no cooldowns and stuff and you get headshotted 2, 3, 4 times. It's going to be a lot. This one, though, we're also increasing the knockback resistance for tanks from 30% to 50%. So this means that you will not be able to displace tanks that much in team fights. For example, you're not gonna be able to boop them, separate them from the team that much. Or I don't know, maybe Winston jumps, you boop them with Lucio, or maybe Brick looking for a whip shot. So if tanks what this means is that if tanks want to get in, then they will get in, from what I understand. If tanks want to get in, then they will get in. What's up next? We're also making some global gameplay changes that impact. By the way, one thing before I move on to this, I don't know about this part. If I remember correctly, did this get changed a couple of seasons ago? I think it was 50%. I might be wrong, and then they changed it to 30%. Am I misremembering this? I think this was played around with, maybe. Maybe yeah, I think so. Because I remember you could not boop them that easily a while ago, and Lucio players were like so happy because you could just do that. That was on original Reinhardt. I don't know. I remember something like this happening. Okay, this one though. I don't know about the mathematics on this, but any changes to armor, you know, in a positive way, is like overall a huge buff to tanks, obviously. See how it's gonna be played out. See how it's gonna be played out with this. And it doesn't necessarily influence like some other heroes that are not tanks that actually got buffed from this. Who else has armor? Brig has armor. Who else has armor? Bastion has armor too. Torbjorn has armor. So this affects the other heroes too. And this is the one that I'm super curious about because like they mentioned tanks on this, but they say that this is like an overall for all heroes, the health regeneration. So what, it's 20 HP per second out of combat. So that's what? Out of combat for 5 seconds, I think. And now it's going to be 10 health plus 5% of the maximum HP per second. So 45 health per second for Reinhardt, right? Instead of like 20 HP per second for Reinhardt. Now, to be honest, this passive kicking in fights is not that, it's not happening that much. At least in GM, I haven't seen this passive kicking in that much, but they do make like a very good point over here. Will enable mobile tanks. For example, let's say you want to jump, ball. This is ball. This is ball buff. This is ball buff for tanks that can like go and flank off by themselves, such as Roadhog and stuff. This is gonna be interesting. So these are all the changes, apart from like the small ones. But one thing's for sure. One thing that we have to determine here. Tanks will be taking less damage. Can we all agree on that, chat? Starting in mid-season patch, and of season 10, tanks will be taking less damage. Right? Less damage. Armor got buffed, less damage from headshots. If they want to go in and stuff, they'll go in, fine. This doesn't matter that much. And this one also regenerates HP out of combat. Sure, fine, understandable. But I just want to highlight 2 things. One, you'll be having on health regeneration passive for all heroes. So this got buffed for all heroes. So for support, for instance, then health plus 5% of the maximum HP per second. What? It's going to be, if you have 250 HP, you're going to regenerate... anybody quick with math? Are you going to regenerate less than 20 or more than 20? 22.5. You're going to regenerate 22.5 healing per second if you have 250 HP. You know? 22.5. And other heroes like that too, like with 250 HP health pools, with 200 HP health pools. So this is like overall like a general health regeneration buff for everybody. Which some heroes that want to regenerate health and they're playing like out of combat sometimes, such as, I don't know, Zenyatta, or maybe even Ana, might kick in. But what I wanted to highlight is the fact that if tanks are going to be taking less damage, then hopefully I will not be looking to like babysit them that much with Ana or with Moira or with Kiriko, because if I leave them for a couple of seconds or like for 1 or 2 seconds, they're just going to die. So I want to see how this is going to feel. And Olaf agrees. Because right now how it feels like is literally I'm looking at the tank. 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 This should give them a little bit more freedom into like what they should be doing and stuff. But I want to see... I want to see what's going to happen. I really want to see what's going to happen with this. Tanks are going to become tankier. Is it... You know, I feel like we're going to have like a window. Does that make sense? We're going to have like a window in which if you focus the tanks, then they will not die and the DPS and supports are going to be cleaning you. But I think you're going to have like a fight in 2 phases. You have to eliminate the supports or the DPSs. Not necessarily ignore the tanks, but don't focus on the tank that much. And then hopefully you have enough resources in case you wipe the entire enemy team to survive the 1 versus 3 that the tank is going to be in. If right now, let's say, tanks can 1 versus 2, I feel like if, let's say, I don't know, I'm DPS and support and I'm 1 versus 2 with a tank will die last. Maybe tank will be able to do 1 versus 3. Maybe. We're going to have to wait and see, especially right now when the tank is in, the tank is going to be in. But I don't know what to say. Definitely, we're gonna be seeing like some experiments, you know, some meta shakeup and stuff. I think Lucia's gonna be played still, because if tank wants to go in, they want to take the fight. Maybe I don't want to take the fight, so I'm just gonna leave. You know, so get a speed boost out. So Lucia's gonna be played. For tanks, we're gonna be seeing a lot of tanks right now. I don't know which tank's gonna be strong. You know, Ball benefits from this a lot. Jungle Queen buffs sound cool. Orisa got nerfed. I'm still saying Orisa. Ramatras should be okay. Diva's pretty good. Winston's good. Doomfist too. Like, I don't know. A lot of tanks. They mentioned Reinhardt a lot. Maybe they thinking Reinhardt with the armor changes. They think it's going to be absolutely amazing. But I want to wait and see what's going to happen right now with this. I want to see. I think this is literally like a tank patch. This is literally a tank patch. If you're really good on tank, you're going to absolutely pop off in this. I'm honest. You have so many options, and the fact is that all tanks benefit from this. I feel like if you're a main, let's say main Ball, you can still experiment, and maybe you're gonna see that that's gonna be the meta. If you're a main Winston or a main Reinhardt or a main Hog, you might find ways to make these heroes work with these changes all combined and actually be able to win like a ton of games. You know what I mean? Compared to like previous patches, it's not going to be like just Orisa, Ramatra, and that's it. And maybe, I don't know, Sigma on some maps. No, I feel like right now it's time to experiment. If you're really good on one tank or like on a couple of tanks, try to experiment with all of them. And this is going to be pretty scary as support, to be honest. I want to wait and see what's going to happen. If it's going to turn around, if it's going to matter more to do the same playstyle, which happened since the changes in Season 9 with everybody's HP increased, and support's going to be playing for big ultimates, for proper ability usage, for like huge ability usage, you know, optimal ability usage, and try to make sure that the tank is not going to get bursted down, because otherwise it's going to be over. So we're going to do the same style, which is like babysit the tank, because tank is going to be unkillable. Tank is going to absolutely go. Mechanics and decision making will matter so much on tank. Right now, I feel like in mid-season, after the mid-season update, if you're playing tank, you can't hesitate. You cannot be scared if you're going to be taking damage. You will not get exploded as fast as before. You cannot hesitate. So, what's going to happen? Are we all going to be looking at the tank? Or are we all going to be looking at the DPSs and supports and try to get a lot of eliminations and hopefully survive the battle against the tank afterwards? Are we going to have like team fights in two areas? You know, what's going to happen? Still, huge changes for tanks. Amazing news. For DPSs in combination with this, okay, fine. And for supports, I'm kind of like question mark. We'll have to wait and see how support is going to be feeling in this. But please let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? And till next time, ML7.